Okay, let me make sure I'm online. Okay, hello, I'm Alex from A.P.Ink. So today I'm going to be picking up where I left off before, which I have been working on a Easter spread, trying to feature different images that I think represent Easter. So yesterday I left off with this attempt at a daffodil. So I've still got the reference here, and I will give you the reference too in case you want to draw along. I was gonna get right into erasing, but I think so. I had made like a circle as to where the center part of the daffodil opens up, and I was just gonna leave it as like reference as to where to have the center petals kind of bend. But I think maybe to give the slightest of indication so that it doesn't look um I don't know, that the petals are like coming straight out from here and going down to actually make it look like there's structure to it. Okay, I do have the colors pulled that I've been using so far. So I think for the base color, I'm going to go in with the same lightning yellow that I used here. Just to make sure this is the right color. Okay, and then I've got nugget, which I used here on the rabbit, that I'm going to use on the daffodil to put in some shadow. Okay, maybe that's enough. And then pulling back the acid green and the apple green that I used on the green for the carrot top, I'm going to use for the stem of the daffodil. Okay, and then I think they're called the stamen, the inside section of the flower. These brown lines. Hopefully you all can see that. It's a minor detail, but I'm going to put it in anyway. I could get away with using the nugget that I used to shade the daffodil, but I think they would stand out a bit more. So I'm going to use Shallow Orange Cafe, which I used to shade the nugget on the rabbit. So just like that. Okay. So moving on Trying to line everything up so it doesn't fall on the floor. Moving on to the next reference. I think while we're working on flowers anyway, whoops. Okay, so in my opinion, what just happened? What just happened? I'm not sure what just happened. OBS is freaking out. Come on now. Okay, sorry. I'm not sure why all of a sudden OBS is freaking out. It looks like you all can still see what I'm doing. Okay, so tulips, I think, are kind of a classic Easter flower. So I've got kind of, I don't know, just a selection here. So for you, it might be kind of hard to see all of them, and I'm sure each individual variety has its own name. But I think, and I grabbed this reference instead of just like, it would have been easier had I just grabbed a regular, like, bouquet of tulips. This just seemed like a good idea at the time. To go with like kind of a classic tulip flower, or one of these, I think they're called variegated. I'm probably wrong. I'm not sure. Where the inside of the tulip to me almost looks like a cabbage. Okay, so we'll see how this goes, but maybe to do a couple, one to a couple of like classic tulip shapes, and then maybe we'll do one of the kind of frillier uh, versions. Just sharpen my pencil really quick. To have it here with the other flower, or to move it somewhere else. So I think kind of like the classic tulip shape is just like a teardrop, the flower. That's okay. It might be kind of easier to see with like the white in the back. OBS is still having issues. It won't let me adjust. It won't let me adjust your reference. Okay, but that... I don't think... Okay, so at least for tulips, the flower doesn't really have leaves growing adjacent. If my pencil is a tulip, the flower would be here, and then the leaves actually grow from like the base of the stem or stalk. So I could try putting the stalk in, and I could attempt to have a leaf come in. Just trying to look up a potentially better reference than this, because I think there is, for lack of actually knowing what it's called, but almost like a center vein, like a bump towards the base of the petal. Kind of like what a leaf would have, a kind of center vein. It's not like an actual vein, but I think, okay, this reference is gonna prove me wrong. All of a sudden it won't let me scroll in. Okay, I don't know what's wrong with my phone. Hang on a second. Okay. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. I don't know. I thought there was like a kind of bump towards the center. Okay, moving on. Okay, that's one tulip. But if we should do more than one, because I also don't know what color I want to go with. So if we do a couple, we could bring in a couple of different colors. But that it looks like the kind of height or length of the flower, like this red one is a lot shorter than the yellow one. Hopefully you can actually see that. If you can make out the height of the red versus the yellow versus the pink. So just for some variety, I could try to make one vary the size of the closed flower, which it's been a bit since I've seen daffodil or tulips in person, but I think closed versus open, I don't know. I want to say that they don't like open, like it just ends up being almost like a cup. Not that they like open, but that they stay like kind of bunched. That probably doesn't make any sense. Try to put this so maybe you guys can see this reference too, without taking too much more room up on the screen. So I'm trying to go for this yellow one. Trying to actually figure out what I'm looking at here. The outer petals overlap, but to actually make out how they overlap. So I think this outer petal jumps out I think more than halfway over. Messed my camera up. Excuse me. I will be right back. Okay. Let me make sure I'm online again. Okay, it looks like my internet connection is rough. Okay. Okay, and then I think for the leaves, it looks like at least for this one, the leaves just come up to the bottom of the flower. It might not make sense now, but hopefully I can make it make sense when I get into inking. Okay, and then going back, well, I was gonna say to go back to the reference I gave you guys, but maybe we'll stick here for this pink daffodil. Which, the daffodil I drew here, at least this side of it, is just pure red. But it might be interesting to try to variegate or add a kind of contrasting color or accent color, I guess. Okay, so the pink one. So at least in this reference, they're all, I think, more or less just straight up and down, but, and maybe it's kind of hard to see, but this pink one that I'm referencing right now, it is kind of slightly tipped, maybe 15 degrees or so. So I'm um trying to emulate that here. So this outer petal here wraps over top of, but the inner, the second flower petal actually stands taller or longer than the outer petal to try to actually get that look. Okay, maybe that'll work. So I'm going to use a 05 blue fineliner for this. Okay, give that a minute to dry. Okay, for colors, yellow. I think the green is going to be the easiest part, so I'll go in with the same green I just used here. So acid green for the base, and then apple green to shade. I've got eraser dust. Hang on a second. Apple green. try to blend this out a little bit. Going over with the acid green again. So the leaves kind of stand out against the stalks. Okay, this really isn't long enough. I don't have the shape right, which I could blame on being this close to the carrot, but I could have tried a bit harder to give it that kind of hourglass look that the yellow one has. So lightning yellow for the base. Which I think, I want to say the reference is a bit more pale than this. But it's a bit late for that now. Okay, I want to see. I've got. I don't think that's gonna work. To pick a red, like a rusty red color. So I'm going for this flower here, but I want to try to get that color accent. I feel like brick red would work, but it might be a bit too dark. So let's swatch it. Bright red, not brick red. I think the red here is a bit more purple, but we'll try this anyway. I don't know if that's actually coming across properly. It's a bit late now to do anything about it. So nugget to add shadow. Okay. Pink for this one here. So I pulled the same pinks that I used here, which would be tender pink for the base color, and then I used mallow, which is a pale purple, to shade it. Okay, so I think for this one, maybe red. So maybe agate, agate, I'm not sure how to say this, for the base color. And then I think I can use the same bright red that I used here to add shadow to the red. Yeah, that'll work. And I think at least for the red and the pink to add just the slightest detail of white gel pen to try to catch the kind of rim lighting. I'm not going to do it on the yellow one because I think the lightness of the yellow and the lightness of the white gel pen is going to be kind of hard to see anyway. Okay, I've got a few more references. Let's see. Okay, I think I'm gonna grab a fresh piece of paper. So I think chicks have also been associated with Easter, probably because the whole egg thing. I'm not going to draw all 4 of these, but maybe this guy. I don't know, maybe this guy and maybe this guy. But I'm thinking to actually have an actual clear shot of this guy and have this guy kind of more sideways. So simple shapes first. I need to pull his head more forward, I think. I can't see his tail feathers, and I might cover that part anyway with the second one. So as with most birds, he has they all have 4 feet, 4 toes. So like the main 3 toes and then like a thumb. It's really blurry to see, and zooming in only makes it worse, but just maybe you can see that. Yeah, I need more of a straight on look, and this is more like a kind of top down look. So if this is the floor, you wouldn't really be able to see at least the length of the toe, especially for the one kind of aimed at the camera. You'd just be able to see like the bulbous fingertip where the nail would come out. So a bit more like that, so you wouldn't really be able to see that back toe the way you can here. And you get this look because of the distance. Even though it's kind of at eye level and not like from above, because of the distance lets you see the distance of the back toe. Hopefully that made sense. So remembering distance and foreshortening, you can see just like the tip of that toe, the side angle of this toe. But I think just maybe that being the back foot, this being the front foot, because of how I don't know, I think okay, I think this one I was gonna have so like the middle toe and the front facing toe, they would be spread out for stability. So here you'd be able to see just the slightest bit, I think, of the toe, more of the side view of this toe, but kind of straight on for this toe. So I need to shift the toes here. Maybe for this foot, actually. Just like you can only see two toes here, you might only be able to see two toes here. So like the front facing toe and the side angle of this toe. Sorry, I'm not trying to flip the camera off. But I feel like for the angle, it would almost be a 3/4 view of this toe, I think. Getting muddy here as I try to figure out the placement of the toes. Trying to recreate the shape of its beak at this angle. It's more than just their mouth. Because you got the upper beak, the lower, or I guess like the upper jaw, the lower jaw, and then like the nostril area. You wouldn't be able to see the back wing. And if I put another chick here, you wouldn't really be able to see this wing either. Nor would you be able to see his tail feathers. Or however many actual feathers he might have, trying to fight their way through all that fuzz. I think I need to bring his back out a bit more. Okay, simple shapes again. So kind of combining, this is what I'm going to do. I should just look up a reference for this, but to combine this guy here with this guy here and try to piece together a side view. Let me just look up a different reference. Stop trying to make this hard on myself. But I think to have him actually looking down at the ground and not just like standing there. AI is just wrong all over. To actually look up a reference and not get some monstrosity. It shouldn't be this hard to find an actual real picture of an animal. Okay, this isn't what I want, but the internet is just frustrating. Okay. That I wanted to put it so you guys could see it too. But my phone doesn't want to cooperate like that. I think it would be more interesting to actually have it looking down or something, but I can't find a reference of that to see exactly what its neck would look like, kind of stretched out like that. Just thinking I could make this a height difference too, but that would mean having to redraw this to actually have this guy sitting down. I don't really want to do that. I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong here, that mine looks so far from the reference. Okay. I think because I'm getting frustrated with this, I'm going to leave this one here and come back to it next time and hopefully actually be able to finish this. If you'd like to join me for that, please make sure that you're following me and that your notifications are turned on so that you're notified for the next time I go live. But other than that, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. Bye.